My name is Michael Gray, and I'm one of the founding artistic directors for City Theatre Company. I think I was 16 years old. I remember being a sophomore in high school, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to act at that point, but I did know that I was intrigued by the possibility of auditioning because someone came down, the director of the musical came down to the track and asked all the guys on the track team if they would like to audition for the musical. And I was like, sure, why not? So I did, and I got a role, and the rest is history. So as a result of walking up from the track and going into the auditorium and singing, I don't remember what I sang, I got the role of Hugo Peabody in Bye Bye Birdie. So that was my first role. And I was scared. Can I say shitless? I was scared because I'd never acted before. I never memorized lines, and I didn't even know stage right from stage left. But I learned a lot. It was a lot of fun. I ended up having a great time, and I remember getting my first laugh. And then at that point, I remember like, this is pretty cool. I think I want to do this, and so it's been part of my life since then. So many favorite roles. The one that comes to mind, I think, specifically with City Theatre Company, would be Frank in Merrily Roll Along. I think because I got to do that with a lot of people that I love in that company, and really it turned out a great product. It was a great show to explore and to work on and to sing. A Little Night Music was similar in some ways. I loved singing A Little Night Music, and then I think and of course they're all Sondheim roles. And the last role that I think I really enjoyed a lot, but I don't think I knew exactly what I was doing most of the time, was in the early days of City Theatre Company. I played John Wilkes Booth in Assassins, and I got to play with some really, really incredible people on stage. A lot of them went on to grander things here in Philadelphia. But I do have really, really fond memories of that piece. Tom Shade, actually, I think, was the impetus to getting City Theatre Company up and off the ground. Tom and I directed, he helped me. He basically was like my assistant director. We directed some stuff at Upper Darby Performing Arts Center, and the last piece we did there was Sunday in the Park with George, and I, we were having this conversation saying, I'm going to be moving. I was accepted into a PhD program in University of Maryland in DC, so that was the last show, and I remember him, we were up late in our apartment, my apartment, and he was just saying, you can't let this end. You can't let this end. You got to do something. You got to do something. And I said, okay. And so we decided to think about where we wanted to do that and who we wanted to do that with. We got John Cooper involved, and as a result, we were able to engage John's parents as backers, and we started, in Wilmington. We chose Wilmington because it was the early 90s, and they had this kind of renaissance for downtown, and they were looking for arts organizations to kind of engage with them. And there was some funding. We had no money, and they were ready to go. Wilmington was very, very welcoming to us, and so we got our footing, and that's how we got started. Professional inspirations. Stephen Sondheim, I have to say, it's always fun. That was the last thing we put in every note or every thank you, and of course Stephen Sondheim. But definitely Stephen Sondheim. I think because one, he made me listen. I wasn't a good listener, and I'm trying to still be better at that. it's funny, I'm a psychologist for a living and we do a lot of listening, but I wasn't really, a good listener at the time. I remember being engaged more by kind of superficial stuff, vibrato or how, the song sounded, the tune. And he helped me to begin listening to the lyric, and then because I was listening to the lyric, I started to really start to understand the character, and so when I would approach a non-musical even, I did a lot of listening, and I think I became a better actor, that's for sure, but definitely I think a much better director, because I think a large piece of directing is listening, not only to actors, but also to the rhythm and cadence of the piece, hearing it in your head, because in essence, the script is a piece of music, and the director in ways can be a conductor and kind of bringing that to life. So Sondheim kind of got me kind of going that way. I don't think I would have ever gotten further along in theater without a gentleman I met in high school by the name of Michael Koenig. I'm not engaged with him right now. We're not necessarily friends anymore. But early on in my kind of, when I started directing, when I started performing, he was kind of a safe haven. He gave me valuable feedback. It was a safe place for him to he could be critical and I didn't get all defensive. He took me to see other shows, we went to New York a lot. He took me to theater to see how people were doing it. He encouraged me to continue in theater when I didn't necessarily have that in other places. So I would think he might have had the biggest impact on me as a professional, as someone part of my personal life at the time. Do I prefer acting over directing? I think now probably I do. I think before I didn't, and I enjoyed directing much more. And a piece of that was my fear of being vulnerable on stage in public. It got in my way. I got in my head a lot when I was a younger actor, and I knew that and I would limit myself, my choices, not take risks, and now I don't care. I guess getting older, or age, or I really don't care. So when I approach a role now, and I'm doing a reading or whatever, given COVID, I have much more fun, and I think that comes across. I'm not so bound, or I'm trying to be so serious and make it work. Where directing, I didn't have the vulnerability was kind of once removed in a way, and I could go to the bar across the street and drink while the play opened and ran. So I didn't necessarily have to be around people where they were viewing your art. So I think there was that once removed thing about directing that I liked much better than acting at the time. But as I get older, beyond oh my God, can I remember all these lines? I'm starting to enjoy acting much, much more. And a big piece of that is I just don't care what you think. I think City Theater has provided, an avenue for conversation. Definitely early on, we were out there doing some really outlandish pieces and getting a lot of press and a lot of conversation giving the work that we were doing. We weren't necessarily getting a lot of butts in the seats, but we were definitely getting a lot of energy and talk around town. Wilmington's a tiny town, and a lot of people are talking, and we were definitely a big part of that conversation. I think in a town like Wilmington, in a city like Wilmington, I think a company like City theater company can allow for conversation to occur. I mean, you can do a piece, and that piece, given that it's a play, is going to have some points of view, and then you can have a discussion as a result of that piece. And sometimes it provides kind of, it eases people in because you're discussing this piece, not necessarily yourself. And that makes it a little safer, and people are more willing to, perhaps give their opinion and take it in a little more because it's not so, they're not so defensive. But that's what I think City Theater has become and can continue to do, especially in these times. And whether it's COVID and the summer, the George Floyd, I mean, all those incidents, all that energy, I think City Theater could provide a place where conversations can occur about those things, because conversations need to occur about those things. And I think City Theater and theater itself is a really cool conduit for that. But if you want to get into theater, and if I'm thinking like acting, we'll start there. Just get out there. Just get out there. I know a lot of kids, given their parents, they need to go to college or think they need to go to college. For me, it's all about getting the best training. And sometimes that training might be in a particular school or program, but a lot of times it's not. To me, it's about getting really good training, making really good connections, and getting yourself out there. Just really, really pounding the pavement, because that is what it's all about. And just taking risks, and having some really good friends to tell you what's really good and what's not really good.